Our only crime perhaps is trying to revolutionize our healthcare system, for example, to equip our hospitals, to build modern hospitals. Maybe our crime was wanting to revolutionize our educational system, to build schools up to standards, to change our curricula. Our crime might be having allowed our farmers to have cheaper fertilizer, plow their fields for free, so that we can achieve food self-sufficiency. And our crime might be wanting to build road and rail infrastructures so that our people can move around.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the fearless president of Burkina Faso, has turned the tables on international organizations that once sought to isolate and undermine his nation. Since storming to power in September 2022, Traoré has faced unrelenting hostility from the West's puppet masters, the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the World Bank, and the African Union, an entity often tethered to Western interests. These global giants, accustomed to dictating Africa's fate, distanced themselves from Burkina Faso, deploying their tired playbook of vilification, sanctions, and smear campaigns, hoping to crush Traoré as they did revolutionary icons like Muammar Gaddafi. They branded him a reckless dictator, predicted economic collapse, and labeled his nation a pariah. But Traoré, unwavering and unapologetic, has proven them wrong. His transformative leadership, rooted in sovereignty, resource nationalism, and an unyielding commitment to his people, has not only revitalized Burkina Faso but forced these same organizations to eat their words. In a stunning reversal, the UN, once a critic, now praises Traoré's achievements, with UNICEF's executive director Catherine Russell lauding his government's efforts during her historic visit to Ouagadougou. The IMF and World Bank, shocked by Burkina Faso's economic resilience, have admitted its growth, while the African Union, after years of aloofness, sent an envoy to meet Traoré, signaling their capitulation. Why all this sudden and unexpected moves? Are they planning something on Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Let's find out. On June 19th, a seismic shift in Burkina Faso's international standing reverberated across the globe. Prime Minister Rimtalba Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo welcomed Catherine Russell, the Executive Director of the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, to Ouagadougou in a historic visit, the first by a UNICEF chief to Burkina Faso. This landmark event marked a dramatic departure from the UN's earlier caution, signaling a grudging acknowledgement of Traoré's transformative leadership. The discussions between Ouedraogo and Russell centered on deepening cooperation in child protection, access to education, and health services, sectors where Traoré's government has achieved remarkable progress despite relentless security challenges and international skepticism. Catherine Russell's praise was unequivocal and resounding. "We commend the government of Burkina Faso for reopening schools that had been closed due to insecurity," she declared after the meeting, her words echoing through global media outlets. She highlighted the nation's unwavering commitment to ensuring education for its children, even in the face of jihadist threats that once paralyzed entire regions. The visit provided a platform for fruitful dialogue, with both sides exploring ways to strengthen partnerships in child welfare, nutrition, and healthcare. Prime Minister Ouedraogo reaffirmed Burkina Faso's resolute dedication to sustaining this momentum, emphasizing national initiatives that prioritize the well-being of the country's youth. The UN's public endorsement, a stark contrast to its earlier silence, underscores the undeniable reality. Traoré's vision, rooted in self-determination and Pan-African principles, has forced the international community to rethink its approach to Burkina Faso. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré assumed power, Burkina Faso was a nation teetering on the edge of collapse, its soul battered by decades of neo-colonial exploitation and a relentless wave of terrorism. By 2022, jihadist groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State had seized control of an estimated 60% of the country's territory, particularly in the volatile tri-border region shared with Mali and Niger. The Global Terrorism Index ranked Burkina Faso as the world's most terrorism-affected nation in 2024 and 2025, with 1,907 terrorism-related deaths recorded in 2023 alone. a staggering 68% increase from the previous year. Over 2 million Burkinabe were displaced, forced to abandon their homes, farms, and livelihoods. Entire communities were uprooted, their dreams buried beneath the weight of fear and uncertainty. The nation's infrastructure was in ruins. Roads, pockmarked with potholes and eroded by neglect, isolated rural communities, crippling trade and mobility. Farmers, who form the backbone of Burkina Faso's economy, struggled to transport their produce to markets, watching their harvests rot while foreign corporations plundered the nation's vast mineral wealth, gold, zinc, and manganese, leaving little for the people. In a candid interview with journalist Alain Foucault, Traoré revealed the dire state of the military he inherited. "We found an army that was underfunded, under-equipped, and outmatched. The terrorists had better weapons than our soldiers, and we were dependent on foreign aid that came with strings." The education system was equally devastated, with over 6,000 schools closed due to insecurity, leaving millions of children stranded at home, their futures stolen. Healthcare was a luxury for many, with underfunded hospitals, scarce medical supplies, and exorbitant costs pushing families into debt or despair. This was the Burkina Faso Traoré vowed to rebuild, a nation stripped of its dignity, its resources, and its hope. From the moment he took power, Traoré made security his paramount priority, recognizing that no progress could be achieved without reclaiming the nation from the grip of terrorism. In a bold and unprecedented move, he expelled French troops in February 2023, ending a decades-long military presence that many Burkinabe viewed as a neo-colonial stranglehold. Rejecting Western dependence, Traoré forged a strategic alliance with Russia, securing advanced military equipment, training, and tactical support. In January 2024, Russian forces, including members of the Wagner Group, arrived to assist in counter-terrorism operations, providing the Burkinabe army with the tools to confront insurgents head-on. To fund this security overhaul, Traoré took decisive control of Burkina Faso's mineral wealth. In August 2023, his government nationalized 2 Western-owned gold mines for a mere $80 million, a fraction of their estimated $300 million value, redirecting profits to bolster the military. The construction of Burkina Faso's first gold refinery, announced in November 2023, was a game-changer, enabling the nation to process its gold locally and establish national reserves. These funds were used to procure modern weaponry, including drones and armored vehicles, train thousands of soldiers, and establish the Volunteers for the Defense of the Fatherland, VDP, a grassroots militia that has become a cornerstone of Burkina Faso's counter-terrorism strategy. The VDP, composed of local volunteers trained by the military, has been instrumental in reclaiming territory and protecting communities, fostering a sense of national unity and resilience. By mid-2020, Traoré's efforts had yielded remarkable results. Terrorist-controlled territory was significantly reduced, with security restored in several regions, including parts of the Sahel and Centre-Nord. The United Nations, through Catherine Russell's visit, acknowledged this progress, praising the government's ability to secure areas and reopen schools. France, which had labeled Burkina Faso a red zone in an attempt to isolate it, now faces the reality of a nation standing tall. Traoré's focus on equipping and empowering his forces has shifted the tide, proving that an African nation can confront terrorism without Western interference. One of Traoré's most profound achievements has been the restoration of education, a lifeline for Burkina Faso's children. When he took power, over 6,000 schools were closed, leaving millions of children without access to learning. Entire generations faced a future without education, their dreams deferred indefinitely. Traoré's administration prioritized reopening these schools, deploying security forces to protect educational facilities, hiring thousands of new teachers, and investing $75 million in school infrastructure, learning materials, and teacher training. By June 2012, hundreds of schools had been reopened, with thousands more in the pipeline, transforming communities once paralyzed by fear. The story of Amina, a 14-year-old girl from the northern town of Djibo, embodies the hope Traoré has restored. In 2022, Amina's school was shuttered after a terrorist attack forced her family to flee their village. "We thought we'd never go back to school," she recalls, her voice tinged with the pain of those lost years. "My parents lost their textile shop, and we were just surviving, moving from one place to another." Under Traoré's leadership, security forces secured Djibo, allowing Amina's school to reopen in early 2020. Her parents, emboldened by improved security, reopened their business, and Amina returned to the classroom. "Now I'm studying again, and I want to be a doctor to help my people," she says, her eyes shining with determination. "Captain Traoré gave us our lives back." Stories like Amina's are multiplying across Burkina Faso as children reclaim their right to education and communities rebuild with newfound hope. Before Traoré's rise, Burkina Faso's infrastructure was a symbol of neglect and abandonment. Dilapidated roads, eroded by years of neglect, isolated rural communities, stifling trade and mobility. Farmers like Souleymane, a tomato grower from the Centre-Sud region, faced constant losses. "The roads were so bad, half my tomatoes would spoil before I could reach Ouagadougou," he recalls. "I was losing money every trip, and my family was suffering." Traoré's government has rewritten this narrative. Since 2023, his administration has embarked on an ambitious plan to construct 5,000 kilometers of roads annually, using equipment purchased with Burkina Faso's own funds, a bold rejection of reliance on imported machinery or foreign loans. This infrastructure revolution has transformed lives and livelihoods. New highways and rural roads have connected previously isolated regions, boosting trade, mobility, and economic activity. Souleymane now delivers his tomatoes to markets in record time, doubling his income. "The roads are smooth now, and I can sell more," he says, a smile spreading across his face. Captain Traoré is building a Burkina Faso we can be proud of. The use of locally sourced equipment has fueled national pride, with Burkinabe celebrating Traoré's commitment to self-reliance. Social media platforms like X are abuzz with videos of bulldozers and graders emblazoned with Burkina Faso's flag, carving out new roads. Public rallies in Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso echo with chants of "Traoré the Builder," as citizens embrace a future of connectivity and opportunity. Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso is anchored in a fundamental truth: no nation can thrive while importing its food. With over 80% of Burkinabe engaged in agriculture, he has made food sovereignty a cornerstone of his revolution. Since 2023, his government has invested over $150 million in agricultural mechanization, distributing tractors, plows, and high-yield seeds to farmers across the country. The 2023-2025 Agro-Pastoral and Fisheries Offensive, coupled with the Presidential Agricultural Production Initiative, has provided over 78 billion CFA francs, approximately $130 million, in equipment and inputs to boost domestic production. Beyond equipment, Traoré has introduced bold reforms to transform agriculture. He has encouraged youth participation in farming cooperatives, modernized irrigation systems to combat drought, and established processing facilities to reduce reliance on food imports. A tomato processing plant in Ouagadougou, one of 11 major factories launched since 2022, ensures that crops like Souleymane's tomatoes are processed locally, adding value and creating thousands of jobs. "We no longer export raw tomatoes to be processed abroad," Traoré declared in a June 2025 address. "Everything will be national, from seed to table." This has slashed Burkina Faso's food import bill, strengthened the economy, and reduced the budget deficit from 6.70% to 6.1% between 2023 and 2024. Traoré has also prioritized sustainable practices, introducing organic fertilizers and training programs to improve yields. In the Centre-West region, a government-funded irrigation project has transformed arid land into fertile fields, enabling farmers to grow rice and maize year-round. These initiatives have not only boosted food security, but also restored dignity to farmers, who now see their work as central to the nation's progress. Captain Traoré understands us, says Suleiman. He knows farming is our life, and he's given us the tools to succeed. Traoré's reforms have extended to healthcare, where he has tackled a system that was once inaccessible to millions. His administration has invested heavily in mobile clinics, hospital equipment, and cold chain systems to ensure vaccine accessibility, particularly in rural areas. Hospital bills have been slashed, making treatment affordable for ordinary Burkinabe. In 2004, the government introduced 15 mobile clinics to serve remote communities, a move that went viral on social media despite initial skepticism about AI-generated videos. Exaggerating the scale. Fact-checking confirmed the clinic's existence, underscoring Traoré's commitment to healthcare access. Fatima, a mother of 3 from Bobo Dioulasso, is a living testament to this revolution. In 2023, she nearly lost her youngest child to malaria due to the high cost of treatment. The hospital bills were crushing us, she recalls. We had to borrow money, and I was terrified we'd lose her. Under Traoré's reforms, hospital fees were reduced, and a mobile clinic reached her village in 2020, providing free checkups and vaccinations. Now my children are healthy, and I don't live in fear, Fatima says, tears of gratitude in her eyes. Captain Traoré is saving lives. The government's investment in training healthcare workers and equipping hospitals with modern technology has further strengthened the system, ensuring that no Burkinabe is left behind. When Traoré expelled French troops and pivoted to Russia, international organizations like the African Union, IMF and World Bank distanced themselves, expecting Burkina Faso to crumble under economic and diplomatic isolation. The African Union suspended Burkina Faso after the 2022 coup, while France labeled it a red zone, warning its citizens against travel. The IMF and World Bank withheld support, assuming their absence would force Traoré to kneel. Western media painted him as an authoritarian upstart, recycling the same smear campaigns used against Gaddafi and Sankara. But Traoré defied their expectations. His government rejected IMF and World Bank loans, cleared domestic debt, and raised civil servant wages by 50%. The establishment of a state-run mining company and a gold refinery boosted fiscal revenues, enabling Traoré to fund his reforms without external aid. The IMF and World Bank, stunned by Burkina Faso's economic resilience, have quietly acknowledged its progress. In 2023, the government debt-to-GDP ratio stood at a manageable 61%, with projections of 62% by 2024, comparable to many Western nations. In a dramatic shift, the African Union, long criticized as a Western puppet, sent Special Envoy Tata Antonio to meet Traoré on June 18, 2025 to discuss continental unity and security cooperation. Described as a listening mission, the visit signaled a thaw in relations and an acknowledgement of Traoré's growing influence. The UN's praise through UNICEF's Catherine Russell further confirms that the international community has been forced to embrace this new normal. Their failed tactics, economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and media smear campaigns have only strengthened Traoré's resolve and his people's loyalty. The West, particularly France and the United States, views Traoré's revolution with alarm. French President Emmanuel Macron has dismissed him as part of a Baroque alliance with Russia and China, accusing him of stirring anti-colonial sentiment. US General Michael Langley's claim that Traoré trades gold for Russian protection sparked outrage, with Burkinabe and African supporters rallying to defend their leader. The West fears Traoré's blueprint, a sovereign, self-reliant Africa, could inspire other nations to break free from neo-colonial chains. African leaders, however, are divided. Some, beholden to Western interests, remain wary of Traoré's radicalism. Others, inspired by his defiance, see him as a model. Ghana's recent gold policy, inspired by Traoré, is a case in point, with state-run regulators reclaiming control over artisanal mining. Across the continent, young Africans and the diaspora hail Traoré as a hero. Social media platforms like TikTok and X are ablaze with tributes, murals, and AI-generated songs celebrating his pan-African vision. At a rally in Ouagadougou in April 2025, thousands waved AES and Russian flags, chanting "Captain Courage," as they celebrated a leader who embodies their aspirations. Traoré's revolution exposes a painful truth: Africa's vast resources, gold, diamonds, cobalt, and more, have been plundered for centuries due to corrupt leadership and Western exploitation. If every African leader emulated Traoré's commitment to sovereignty, self-reliance, and people-centered governance, the continent could transform from a beggar to a powerhouse. His rejection of IMF loans, nationalization of resources, and focus on agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare show that Africa's wealth lies in its soil and its people, not in Western handouts. From reopening schools to building roads, from revolutionizing agriculture to healing the sick, his leadership has restored hope and dignity to a people long oppressed. As Amina dreams of becoming a doctor, Soleiman prospers, and Fatima's children thrive. Burkina Faso is writing a new chapter in its history. The international community's about-face, from condemnation to praise, proves that Traoré's revolution is unstoppable. His message to Africa is clear: the future is ours, and no force, Western or otherwise, can dim the light of a people determined to be free. Let every African leader take heed. The path to greatness lies in courage, sovereignty, and the unwavering belief in our continent's boundless potential.